Ford's recent announcement has sent shockwaves through the automotive industry, signaling a significant shift in its electric vehicle strategy. As the company grapples with financial losses and intense competition, it is forced to make some tough decisions. Ford is in a phase of shifting. This will definitely affect everything about the industry. Ford is one of the top automakers in almost every segment of the market. But how will this affect you exactly? Let me explain. What's happening? Well, just when you thought Ford was all in on electric vehicles, they've pulled a stunning U-turn that's turning heads across the auto industry. In a surprising twist, Ford is hitting the brakes on its electric ambitions and shifting gears towards hybrids, a move that could redefine its future in the competitive EV landscape. And now this will dramatically affect the AV sector and even the internal combustion engine car market. So why are they doing this? And will this unexpected pivot help Ford reclaim its place in the market? Or is it a sign of retreat in the race for electric supremacy? Let me break it down for you. What's their plan? Well, what you need to know is that right now, as the company grapples with financial pressures and fierce competition, this bold strategy promises to not only stabilize its bottom line, but also tap into the growing demand for other type of vehicles. And to do this, they are officially pulling the plug on their plans for a sleek, all-electric 3-row SUV. This was supposed to be their answer to the Tesla Model X and Kia EV9, but the Blue Oval's leadership team had a change of heart. Turns out they didn't think this new EV would be profitable enough in its first year on the market. As Ford's CFO put it, if they're not profitable based on where the customer is, where the market is, we will pivot and adjust. Translation, gotta make that cash, folks. And the hits just keep on coming. Ford's also decided to hit the brakes on the launch of their next-gen electric pickup truck, the T3. Instead of rolling it out as planned, they're delaying the big debut until at least 2027. Clearly, Ford's feeling the pressure from all kinds of market forces, like financial challenges and fierce EV competition. But they're taking a step back to re-strategize and make sure they get this electric pickup right. So what's Ford's big pivot-based one? Well, they're shifting gears and doubling down on good old hybrid tech. The plan is to introduce hybrid versions of their popular SUV models, like the Explorer and Expedition. This hybrid focus is all part of Ford's strategy to appeal to a more mainstream, practical customer base. After all, lots of folks are still hunting for reliable alternatives to traditional vehicles, even if they aren't quite ready to go all in on electric. Gotta keep those options open, am I right? But why exactly? Let's talk about the financial side of things. Ford's Model E division, the one focused on EVs, has been hemorrhaging cash like crazy. In the first quarter of 2024 alone, they racked up a staggering $1.3 billion loss. That's about $132,000 lost for every single one of the 10,000 electric vehicles they sold during that period. Ouch, that's got to hurt. And it just gets worse from there. For the entire year of 2023, the Model E unit recorded a total EBIT loss of $4.7 billion on sales of 116,000 EVs. That's an average loss of around $40,525 per vehicle. Yikes. Someone's got some serious accounting to do. Now, you might be thinking, but wait, aren't EV sales on the rise? Well, you're not wrong. Ford's EV sales did see a 61% year-over-year increase in Q2 2024. The problem is, the overall volume is still pretty darn low. They only managed to sell about 23,957 EVs in that quarter, which is a far cry from their traditional gas-powered models. And to top it all off, the Model E unit's revenue took a massive 84% nosedive in Q1 2024 compared to the previous year. We're talking about a drop from around $600 million all the way down to just $100 million. Yikes, that's gotta sting. Comparing it with other segments, we've got the good old Ford Blue division, the one that's still churning out those good old gas-powered rides. And let me tell you, they're the real moneymakers for the Blue Oval. In the second quarter of 2024, Ford Blue raked in a sweet $2.3 billion in EBIT profits. Not too shabby, even with a 13% drop in revenue compared to the previous year. Now, that's a stark contrast to the struggles we're seeing in Ford's EV segment. Those electric vehicles just can't seem to catch a break, huh? But you know what's really holding down the fort? Ford's commercial vehicle division, the Ford Pro. They reported a massive $2.4 billion in EBIT thanks to a 36% surge in revenue. It looks like good old internal combustion engines are still the name of the game when it comes to the business side of things. So, what's the takeaway here, you ask? Well, my friends, it's clear that Ford's traditional vehicle business is still the backbone of their operation. Sure, they're pouring a ton of resources into those electric rides, but the real bread and butter is still coming from the gas-guzzling crowd. And hey, can you blame them? Those commercial vehicles are raking in the dough, and Ford's smart to capitalize on that. So, what's the deal? Why is Ford struggling so hard to make their electric vehicles profitable? Let's talk about it. The root cause. Let's talk about the big bad battery issue. Ford's CFO John Lawler has made it crystal clear. Affordable EVs start with affordable batteries. And let me tell you, those big battery packs needed to power those electric SUVs are a real budget buster for the Blue Oval. Even as Ford ramps up production, the costs of sourcing and manufacturing these batteries just aren't coming down fast enough to let them price their EVs competitively. As Lawler put it, if we can't be competitive in battery costs, we can't be competitive in electric vehicles. Ouch, that's got to hurt. And the Chinese automakers are really upping their game when it comes to battery technology and production. I'm talking a total flood of new EV models hitting the market, and it's got Ford scratching their heads trying to figure out how to stay relevant. But wait, there's more. The EV market itself is a veritable battlefield, with fierce pricing pressure coming at Ford from all sides. We're talking low-cost electric rides from those crafty Chinese automakers, and let's not forget about the aggressive pricing tactics of industry juggernauts like Tesla. To stay in the game, Ford's had to slash their prices, and that really put a squeeze on their profit margins. Heck, they reported that the premium for EVs over traditional gas guzzlers dropped by more than $3,000 in just the second quarter of 2024. Yikes, that's a serious hit to the bottom line. And you know what they're saying. Consumers are starting to lean more towards those good old hybrid vehicles instead of fully electric options. It seems like folks are taking a more cautious approach when it comes to EVs, especially with all the lingering concerns about charging infrastructure and vehicle depreciation. So what's Ford's big move? Well, they're reading the tea leaves and responding to these shifting consumer preferences. Rather than doubling down on pure electric, they're pivoting towards hybrids, you know, those sweet rides that blend good old gas power with a little electric oomph. At the end of the day, Ford's got to go where the demand is, and right now, it seems like hybrid vehicles are the way to go. These automakers, they gotta stay nimble, you know? Adapt or get left in the dust. That's the name of the game in this fast-paced industry. Now the question is, what's going on with the rest of the automakers when it comes to electric vehicles? I mean, Ford's certainly not the only one in the hot seat, right? But some are managing to navigate these challenges well too. So what gives? Industry failures? GM is one of the automakers that are finding themselves in a similar predicament. GM's been going all in on the EV game, committing to an electric future with plans to launch a whole slew of new models. But it's not all smooth sailing for the Motor City giants. They're facing some serious challenges, like those pesky production delays and supply chain issues. Take the Chevy Silverado EV and the GMC Hummer EV. GM's been struggling to get these beasts out the door on time, and it all comes down to those darn semiconductor shortages and other supply snafus. As a result, they've had to do some major juggling, adjusting their production schedules and trying to keep those eager customers happy. But here's the kicker. Despite these hurdles, GM's traditional vehicle segments are still printing money. The only problem? Their EV division hasn't quite cracked the code on profitability yet, and that's got the company rethinking those aggressive timelines for electric vehicle dominance. Oh, and let's not forget about the competition. These guys are facing a real gauntlet with established automakers and new players alike vying for a slice of the EV pie. Tesla, the Chinese upstarts, you name it, they are all bringing their A game. So what's GM's big move? They're getting scrappy, focusing on more affordable electric options and leaning into those tried and true hybrid models. But it's not just GM facing the heat. Volkswagen's also in the thick of it. These guys are undergoing a major transformation, trying to become the king of the electric hill. But let me tell you, it's been a real uphill battle. Their ID3 and ID4 models are struggling to gain traction in Europe, forcing VW to offer some serious discounts just to move the metal. And then there's Rivian, the new kid on the block. These guys have been faced with some serious challenges since day one. Production shortfalls, financial pressures, and intense competition. It's been a real roller coaster ride. But hey, they're not giving up without a fight. Rivian's got plans to introduce a more affordable R2 platform and expand their production capacity. Gotta admire the hustle. However, like I said, amidst these challenges, there are notable successes in the industry that highlight the potential for growth and innovation in the electric vehicle market. Industry success. Hyundai is the established automaker that's been making some serious moves in the EV space. They've been steadily closing the gap with Tesla in the US market, with a 42% year-over-year growth in EV sales back in May 2024. Their Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6 models are real head-turners, and Hyundai's commitment to innovation and sustainability is really resonating with consumers. But even Hyundai is not immune to the challenges of this ever-evolving EV landscape. They've got to keep innovating and adapting to stay ahead of the competition, both from traditional automakers and those pesky newcomers. And let's not forget about that whole brand perception thing. Hyundai is working hard to establish itself as a serious player in the electric vehicle space. Tesla has been pioneering the electric revolution, and they are still holding on to a respectable 19.9% market share as of 2023. But let me tell you, it hasn't been all smooth sailing. Tesla's facing some serious competition from both newcomers and established automakers, and they're even losing ground in the crucial US market. And here's the thing, to keep those sales numbers up, Tesla's had to resort to some aggressive price cuts, which have taken a serious toll on their profit margins. They've slashed prices on the Model 3 and Model Y in China, and it's left everyone wondering, is this a sustainable strategy in the long run? But Tesla is not the only one in the EV arena shaking things up. Enter BYD, the Chinese upstart that's giving Elon and the gang a run for their money. In fact, they just overtook Tesla as the top electric vehicle manufacturer globally. And how'd they pull that off? By cranking out an insane 426,000 pure electric vehicles in the second quarter of 2024. That's likely more than Tesla's projected sales for the same period. BYD's secret weapon, vertical integration, baby. These guys control every aspect of their production process, which means they can crank out high quality rides at seriously competitive prices. Their e-Platform 3.0 is a game changer, slashing costs and boosting performance. But even with all that firepower, BYD's still grappling with profitability challenges, thanks to those aggressive price cuts. But the main reason for these successes is the competitive pricing. Let me explain. Price war. Let's start with the epicenter of this automotive earthquake, China, the world's largest EV market. These manufacturers are being forced to slash and burn when it comes to pricing, with over 40 models seeing some serious discounts and incentives. We're talking about some of the biggest price shifts the Chinese auto market has ever seen. Talk about a shakeup, right? And who's leading the charge? Well, it's none other than the king of electric vehicles, Tesla. They pulled the trigger on those aggressive price cuts, and the rest of the gang, BYD, Li Auto, you name them, they've been scrambling to keep up. It's a classic case of matching production to demand, but let's be real, it's also got everyone a little nervous about those profit margins. But the real kicker? This price war ain't just confined to China. Nope, it's spreading its tentacles to international markets, like Southeast Asia. Those Chinese automakers are coming in hot, undercutting the established players with their low-cost offerings. And you know what that means? More price competition, more headaches for everyone involved. In fact, in Southeast Asia, the Chinese EV makers have already managed to snag a whopping 74% of the market, up from 47% just a year ago. Talk about a meteoric rise. But here's the thing, as more and more of these brands pile in, the risk of a full-blown price war intensifies. And that, my friends, could spell disaster for the long-term viability of these companies. You see, the experts are warning that these endless price reductions could be a real double-edged sword. Sure, they might boost sales in the short term, but they're also eroding those precious profit margins. And as the competition heats up, it's only going to get harder for these automakers to stay in the black. But it's not just the manufacturers feeling the squeeze. The price war is also influencing consumer behavior. Buyers are getting more and more price conscious, and they're starting to look towards hybrid and lower cost EV options. Talk about a wrench in the works for the traditional EV players. How is the price war affecting Ford exactly? In a move to keep their rides irresistible, Fords have slashed prices on the Mustang Mach-E by up to a cool $5,900. Yep, you heard that right. They're making their electric rides even more irresistible to those EV-hungry consumers out there. Talk about a game changer. But here's the thing, Tesla's not taking this lying down. Those innovation gurus have gone and dropped the price of the Model Y by a whopping $13,000. It's like an all-out brawl in the EV arena, with these two titans battling it out to win over the hearts and wallets of the people. And you know what's really interesting? Consumers are starting to get super price conscious, thanks to all these amazing deals. They're weighing their options, looking at electric, hybrid, and even good old gas-powered vehicles. Ford has gotta stay on their toes if they want to capture that sweet, sweet market share. It's like a high-stakes game of chess, I tell you. Ford's gotta be strategic, keeping their EVs affordable and irresistible, all while maintaining those profit margins. It's a delicate balancing act, but hey, if anyone can pull it off, it's this automotive heavyweight. So what's the verdict? This price war is just getting started, folks. Ford's bringing the heat, Tesla's not backing down, and the consumers are the ones calling the shots. It's going to be one wild ride, that's for sure. But if you ask me, I wouldn't bet against Ford. They've got the chops to come out on top. Changing strategies and abandoning the EV hype train is not just a strategic shift, it is a matter of survival. But is it really gonna work? Well, there is only one way to find out, so let's dissect their plans. What's the grand plan? Let's talk about that new EV plant in Tennessee that Ford's been putting on hold. Talk about a major setback, am I right? This thing was supposed to be the cornerstone of their electric vehicle production, but with all these delays, Ford's falling behind the competition like nobody's business. I mean, when the EV market is moving at lightning speed, any holdups can be a total killer. And speaking of competition, Ford planning to cancel that electric 3-row SUV is a major buzzkill for all the families out there looking to go electric. This move just screams, we're not as committed to the EV game as we say we are. Not a great look, Ford. And let's not forget about the consumer side of things. Turns out a lot of folks are still choosing good old gas-powered and hybrid vehicles over fully electric models. Talk about a curveball for Ford's EV-centric strategy. They might need to rethink this whole electric or bust approach. Oh, and let's not forget the supply chain issues, the intense competition from the likes of Tesla and BYD, and the shifting consumer preferences. It's like Ford's playing a high-stakes game of catch-up in an ever-changing EV landscape. Then there's the whole brand identity issue. As consumers become more and more eco-conscious, Ford's move away from an all-electric future could seriously muddy their reputation as an innovative, sustainability-minded automaker. I mean, canceling that fancy 3-row electric SUV? Not a great look, if you ask me. And then there's the competition factor. The EV market is heating up with the big dogs like Tesla and the newcomers like BYD really bringing their A game. If Ford's too busy playing catch up with their hybrid tech, they might just get left in the dust when it comes to the latest and greatest electric innovations. Talk about a recipe for disaster. Speaking of consumer preferences, the jury's still out on how this hybrid pivot is going to play out. Sure, there's a growing interest in those gas-electric hybrids, but what happens if the market suddenly swings back to full electric? Ford could find itself in a bit of a pickle, unable to keep up with the shifting tides. And let's not forget about those pesky supply chain and production challenges. With semiconductor shortages and battery production issues still dogging the industry, Ford's got to be on top of its game to ensure their hybrid models can actually hit the streets on time. Because if they drop the ball, all those hybrid-hungry customers are going to take their business elsewhere. Oh, and let's talk profits. While hybrids might have a slight edge in terms of production costs, making them actually profitable is still a tall order. Ford struggled with their EV division, so who's to say they won't run into the same issues when it comes to these hybrid babies? They better have a tight grip on those costs, or else it's going to be another money pit. And speaking of money, the regulators aren't going to let Ford off the hook either. With emission standards tightening up around the world, the pressure's on to go fully electric. If Ford drags its feet on the electrification front, they could find themselves in some serious hot water. So what's the verdict? Ford's new plan might be a bit of a long shot. Delays, cancellations, financial troubles, and a rapidly evolving market. It's a recipe for disaster. But hey, the strategy may be smarter than it seems. Talking about the number that Ford is losing, it's no wonder they're looking to prioritize profitability. As one automotive analyst put it, the company needs to ensure that new models are profitable within a year of launch, which is a tall order in the current EV landscape. Yikes. Talk about a challenge. But it's not just about the money, my friends. It seems like consumer sentiment is playing a big role in Ford's strategic shift. Recent surveys show that a lot of potential buyers are still a little hesitant to go all in on electric vehicles. They've got concerns about charging charging infrastructure, and that dreaded range anxiety. As one industry expert explained, the market is witnessing a significant shift towards hybrids as consumers look for practical alternatives that offer the benefits of electric driving without the full commitment to going all electric. Makes sense, especially for those families who prioritize reliability and versatility. And let's not forget about those pesky battery costs. Those things can eat up 40-45% of a vehicle's price tag, especially on the longer range models. By shifting to hybrids, Ford can downsize those batteries and keep costs in check. Sounds like a winning formula to me. Now, Ford's not just sitting back and letting the competition steal their thunder. Nope. They are realigning their product development to focus on hybrids and commercial vehicles, areas where they think they've got an edge. Plus, they're working on an affordable EV platform to keep up with the electric revolution. The best part? Ford's giving customers a smorgasbord of electrification options, hybrids and EVs, all in one place. That way, they can cater to the early adopters and the more cautious consumers alike. Gotta keep those folks happy, am I right? And let's not forget about those fierce competitors, especially the Chinese automakers with their super efficient supply chains. By dialing back on EV investments and optimizing their hybrid production, Ford's hoping to stay ahead of the curve and keep their place in this crazy, ever-changing automotive landscape. Ooh, that's a lot to digest. But the bottom line is this: Ford's making some big moves to navigate the challenges of the electric revolution. Hybrid power, cost control, and a diverse product lineup. It is their recipe for success. So there you have it. The automotive world is buzzing with Ford's latest move, and it's clear this decision will send ripples across the entire industry. Whether Ford's pivot away from an all-electric future is a sign of retreat or a calculated shift towards stability, only time will tell. Now, the real question is, will this bold strategy allow Ford to regain its footing amidst fierce competition, or is it a signal of deeper challenges ahead? Let's know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.